Hey, did you know there's a new Will Ferrell movie coming out this weekend? Well, there is. Let's review it. Hey everybody, and welcome to my review of Eurovision Song Contest, the story of Fire Saga, which joins Talladega Nights, The Ballad of Ricky Bobby, and Anchorman, The Legend of Ron Burgundy, as the capper to a trilogy of films starring Will Ferrell with truly unwieldy titles. This movie is a Netflix original, which means that it is made for Netflix. It didn't have a release date that was scrubbed because of COVID-19. It was, however, delayed because it was originally supposed to come out back in May when the Eurovision Song Contest itself was set to air before it was canceled. And if you don't know what the Eurovision Song Contest is, every year, dozens of countries, mostly from Europe, gather together. Each country picks an original song to compete in the contest, and then there's one country that is crowned the winner. The winner is picked by all of the other countries. There have been some very notable winners. Celine Dion performed a song that won. And then we open this movie with maybe the most famous winner, which was ABBA, who won the contest back in the 70s with the song Waterloo. That event is a key moment for Will Ferrell's Lars and Rachel McAdams' Sigrid, two Icelandic songwriters/singers who dream for their whole lives of winning the Eurovision Song Contest. They form a band called Fire Saga, and we follow them as they journey to achieve their dream. And the formula to this film is something that you're pretty familiar with if you've seen movies starring Will Ferrell before. This kind of bumbling man-child and his partner as they try to win international fame and glory, whether that's Blades of Glory with ice skating, whether that's NASCAR with Talladega Nights, whether it's becoming the best anchorman in the world. There are certain formulas to a lot of Will Ferrell comedies, and this one hits a lot of those beats again. Of course, this isn't an easy road for Fire Saga. They hit a lot of ups and downs, and then more ups and downs, and then more ups and downs. They actually repeat a lot of these beats over and over again, where Fire Saga gets an opportunity to do something. It looks like they're going to do well, but then they don't do well, but then something happens that lets them advance. This thing, I don't know what it is with comedies lately. I guess maybe it's always, although I don't remember it being this bad, but this movie is about 2 hours long, and it could have easily been an hour 30, an hour 40 minutes long, because it definitely drags in places. There are some scenes that just continue to play and play and play, and it makes me wonder how they go through the process of cutting these films and cutting them down, because I was watching something about the behind the scenes making of Airplane, which was one of the classic comedies of all time, and the directors from that film were saying that the way that they cut the movie was that they would go out and they would test it, and they would bring a tape recorder and they would record where the audience was laughing, and then they would edit the movie based on that. So if the audience wasn't laughing at a particular joke, they would cut that joke. If the audience laughed so long that it stepped on the next joke, then they would extend that beat in the final cut of the film, and that's essentially how they got the cut of the movie to where it is. I don't think they're doing this, particularly movies that are made for Netflix, because they're not made to be seen theatrically, or they're not made to be seen in a room with a large audience. Some of the movies they release that way, but they have to know that largely these movies are going to be watched at home. This is a movie that doesn't feel like it has been through that process of sitting there with the crowd, testing it with the crowd, and seeing where do they laugh, where do they not laugh, because this is a bloated movie. A lot of repeat beats and a lot of scenes that go on way too long, to the point where it kind of sucks a lot of the energy out of the stuff that does work, because it's even further between the bits of comedy that land. The movie's lucky to have a very good cast. Rachel McAdams is always a solid performer, also does a lot of her own singing in the movie, so multi-talented, but we already knew that. Will Ferrell, listen, I like Will Ferrell. I've always liked Will Ferrell, but you've seen him play this character probably 5, 10, 12 different times. And it's not that the joke was never funny. It's that when you tell the same joke or you do the same bit or the same character over and over and over and over again over the course of, now we're approaching 2 decades, it gets a little old. And I hate to say that, because I think that Will Ferrell is one of the funniest people working. I just wish that he, especially in the movies that he co-writes and helps to produce, would expand his own horizons a little more, because we've hit these beats before with him. Also, a little bit distracting is the fact that these two characters supposedly grew up together, but Will Ferrell, who is 11 years older than Rachel McAdams, looks like he's 11 years older than Rachel McAdams. Of course, this is nothing new. The leading man who is noticeably older than the younger leading lady, but that doesn't make it any less jarring in this film because they keep talking about the shared childhood that they had. And it's like, you look like you could be her like much older sibling, perhaps, but not a contemporary. But that's Hollywood. I mean, you're not going to change that system. They've been doing that for 100 years. There is a supporting cast in the movie that helps to shake things up. You have Pierce Brosnan, who plays Will Ferrell's dad, who I guess because this movie is set in Iceland and then everything that he's done with ABBA, I think Pierce Brosnan is just going through a really big Nordic phase in his career. He just wants to hit all of the movies, musical movies with Nordic roots. Dan Stevens is somebody that I want to point out because he genuinely steals every scene that he's in. He plays Alexander Lemtov, the Russian singer and competitor. The character that he's playing, I think, could or sometimes maybe does teeter a little bit close to an outdated stereotype. However, the fact that he is such a charismatic and a magnetic performer really draws you into that character and makes you at least care about the scenes that he's in. And so it was great to see him in this kind of role. I hope that he branches out into comedy even more because he's got the talent for it. Because again, like Rachel McAdams and like Will Ferrell, he's a very talented performer. I mentioned that the movie is too long. The other thing that it struggles with is the fact that I at times couldn't figure out whether it was making fun of musicals or if it wanted to actually be a musical, because obviously you're meant to laugh at Fire Saga and their misadventures on the stage, but there are other times when you can't really tell if they're sort of poking fun at the idea of the Eurovision contest or if they want us to actually take it seriously. And in the middle of the film, there's a completely spontaneous musical number that breaks the style and the format of the movie altogether, in the sense that it's a musical number like you would see in any Hollywood musical. People singing straight to camera, very bombastic and vivacious. There's nothing wrong with that, but in the movie that I'm watching, I kept expecting them to sort of drop the joke. For there to be something kind of a wink or a nod or some kind of acknowledgement that it is weird to just put a random musical number, kind of a pitch perfect mashup of pop hits in the middle of this movie. But no, it's just kind of there. There's surrealism that's kind of chunked in there. Then you have the straightforward musical elements, then the kind of parody musical elements. Are you supposed to laugh at these performers and performances? Are you not supposed to laugh at them? Same with the characters. They're asking you to buy into a broad caricature of one character in 1 minute and then relate to them on a human level at another minute. There are some movies that are able to do that successfully. This movie struggles with it a little bit. I will say that there is an original song called Husavik, Hometown, which is actually a really, really good song. And it's performed at a key point in the film. It's a song that I think should be in the mix for awards consideration at the end of the year, but because it's in a comedy, it almost assuredly will not be. So when it comes down to it, should you get Netflix for this movie? No, I wouldn't suggest that, but let's be honest, you probably have Netflix already. So should you invest the 2 hours into sitting and watching this movie? I guess, there's so many people that are locked in and don't have much else to do. If you don't have anything else to watch, then there's a lot worse things that you could pick to watch than this movie. Just know that it doesn't reach the high highs of any of Will Ferrell's past work. It's pretty much straight down the middle. Perhaps, I have a very passing experience and knowledge of the Eurovision Song Contest. It may be that if you're someplace that is more connected, or if you yourself are a bigger fan of the Eurovision Contest, then you'll probably enjoy that a little bit more than I did, because, like I said, I'm very tangentially knowledgeable about that kind of thing. And this is a big deal to so many people around the world every year. But in general, I think that it is a fairly mediocre comedy. Not anything that I think is going to be too memorable in the months to come. Probably just something that you'll notice came out this weekend. Maybe you'll watch it and you're not going to think about it again for the rest of the year. So those are my thoughts on Eurovision Song Contest, the story of Fire Saga. What did you think of the movie? Are you planning to see it? Let me know down in the comments below, and let me know what you think is a worse title: Eurovision Song Contest, the story of Fire Saga, or Birds of Prey, or the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn. 2020 has not been notable for many things as far as movies that have actually come out, but weird and unwieldy titles has definitely been one of them. Thank you so much for watching this review. If you want to see even more, check me out over on Patreon at patreon.com patreon.com/Dan Murrell. We are getting toward the end of the month, which means we're going to be recapping a lot of movies. Dan's Monthly Movie Club is wrapping up. We'll be talking about movies that I appreciated more on second, third, or fourth viewing. We're going to be talking about The Big Lebowski, Get Out, and Starship Troopers. 3 really, really, really good movies that I appreciated more as time went on. Also, I want to give a special thank you to these producer level patrons who have been so amazing and supportive as I've gotten things up and running. It really has been fun to get things going, and these patrons are a big reason why it has been such a pleasurable experience from beginning to end so far. Thank you so much for watching this review. What other movies do you want to see me review? You know, I did a speed round review for some 2020 movies, and I'm planning another one. Are there any that have come out this year that I haven't reviewed that you want to see? Let me know down there in the comments. And as always, I'm going to be putting out some stuff just about what I like to watch, what I think you'd like to watch, classic stuff, TV stuff, new stuff. Until movies come out, we're just kind of making it up as we go along here. Thanks for making stuff up with me, and I'll see you next time.